coming and for being interested in this election. Every election is always the most important election, but the duty of a citizen in our democratic republic is to be informed and active. So whatever side of the aisle you're on, I applaud you for coming out here and for being interested in the issues. It's been a great turnout. And of course, thank you to Dr. Fein and to Dr. Reed as well for being here. I think the most important consideration when you're picking a president in the modern age is symbolism. Modern president of the United States of America represents the country as a whole. When people in foreign nations disagree with us, it's often the presidents who's burned in effigy, or it's the president to whom people focus their energies and write letters and complain. The president ends up representing us. You can see this phenomenon when people blame the president for gas prices when they go up, although interestingly, they don't always credit him when they go down. But you can also see the importance of the president as a symbol when you see about the complaints of the current state of the economy right now, which Obama inherited and which the policies proposed by Romney created. We blame our presidents because they are symbols, and thus I think the primary question for American voters this election, even above policies, is whether Obama or Romney is a better symbol for the country. One man grew up with a single mother and a largely absent immigrant father. He made his way through school and became a pioneer at Harvard Law School as the editor-in-chief of the Law Review. One man took his talents from finance firms to communities, earning less than his qualifications would otherwise entitle him, and he helped the poor and disenfranchised people gain a voice in the political arena. Along the way, he found that he had a talent for representation and for politics, and he ended up becoming the president of the United States. The other man grew up in privilege, went to the best schools as a legacy, and upon graduation, he got a job through family connections. He became a pioneer in venture capitalism, a type of real-world Gordon Gekko where strict self-interest, greed is portrayed as a kind of virtue. To me, between the two, Obama represents the better symbol for a nation of immigrants whose founding theory is opposed to ascribed status and regressive economic policies. Obama fights for the poor, Romney the wealthy. Obama will puff facts. He is a politician, but he doesn't ignore them. Romney appears willing to say whatever is convenient at the moment, even if it requires a 180-degree change of position. Obama has always been a moderate liberal, in my opinion. Romney has been a moderate liberal, and then this year announced that he was a severe conservative before coming back to being a moderate conservative. Obama, to me, is a better symbol for this country if you compare him to Romney.
Are you done?
I yield my time. Thank you. To you all for questions or comments.
I, ladies and gentlemen, am not looking for a symbol. I'm looking for a president. I'm looking for somebody who can do a job that needs doing. Our country is in deep trouble. This recession has lasted longer than any recession since the Great Depression, and is deeper than any since the Great Depression. We need somebody who can get us out of this. This man is Mitt Romney. This is not a game. This is serious. This is our next 4 years, whether they will be years in comfort and prosperity or the reverse. Now, our president, when he was running last time, said if you don't have a record, if you don't have a program to run on, slander your opponent. We have just heard Romney slandered by the spokesman for Obama. He is supposed to be this wicked capitalist who got everything from legacy. Well, that's just not true. Like so many things said of Mitt Romney, it's not true. We have heard how Obama did this wonderful thing, going to Harvard and getting in a law review and whatnot. To be commended, absolutely true. You know what Romney did? He got into a program also at Harvard that included law and business, which was tougher and more prestigious. And he got in on his own. He was flat out not a legacy. Okay. He did not inherit his wealth from his father. He did inherit money from his father. He gave it all away. His $250 million, he made himself by starting a business from scratch. That's not legacy. That's talent, that's ability, that's drive, that's someone who knows economics, that's someone who knows how to lead, that's someone who has succeeded and who can succeed in the future. This man is a problem solver. This man has solved problems in business, in the Olympics, and in the state of Massachusetts, even though that state was primarily Democratic. This is a man who knows how to get a job done, and we now have a job that needs doing. We have an economy that needs to be turned around. We have a nation that needs to be defended from real enemies. We have a nation that needs to be bound together. Barack Obama, when he ran for president, said he would be president of all the people. Then the moment he got into office, he told the Republicans, basically, you can go to hell. I won the election, and we're going to do it my way. My way or the highway. Well, that's still what he says. He still blames the Republicans. All the Republicans. Doesn't matter what they do. This is a man who says, I'll take ideas from any source whatsoever. Only they never do seem to come from the Republicans. So this is not a man who can actually work things together. This is a man who can talk. This is a man who can give a wonderful speech. This is a man who knows how to make promises. I think that the count from Politico the last time around was something like 520 separate promises the last time that he ran. How many of them do you keep? Is this the most transparent administration that the country has ever seen? I don't think so. Did he cut the deficit in half? I don't think so. Did he make the oceans recede? I don't think so. I doubt very much whether he's going to be able to keep any of his empty, vacuous promises that he has made this time around either. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that works. I'm glad I have my own mic, so it's wonderful. We're going to start with the actual questions. Thank you for the great opening remarks. So number one, that'll be simple, straightforward. What is your candidate's plan for the economy?
Okay, 2 minutes.
Yes, 2 minutes each candidate, each debater.
Unless you want me to start first, I'll be happy to.
I'm still thinking how to respond to the various points that were made in your opening statement, but let me just start by saying a few basics regarding what Obama and his position is on the economy. Generally speaking, he opposes supply-side economics, which is this idea that if you have a government benefit or resource, you give it to the people who already have resources on the theory that since they have resources, they know what to do with it and they'll invest, and then those investments will create jobs that will then trickle down to other people. And we've tried some version or another of this since Reagan in 1980, but we tried it in an accelerated way for 8 years with President George W. Bush starting in 2000. He inherited a surplus, and when he left, we had a deficit of over $1 trillion a year and a larger debt. And so the idea that you can just look at Obama and his record as if it sort of happened in a vacuum and just started in 4 years, I don't think is fair to the entire story. I think it's important to put this in context. I think a kind of metaphor would be that President Bush gave Obama the keys to the bus as it was flying towards the cliff. And President Obama was able to prevent that bus from going over the cliff, but he couldn't prevent it from getting dented. And so it's going to take a little while for it to go to the mechanics and get fixed and patched up. the idea that you would just then give the keys right back to someone who's giving you the same sort of policies that got us into this in the first place, I think is just frankly unwise.
Okay.
Thank you.
Or-
Dr. Fein?
We just heard economics by metaphor. You know, we'll give you a nice little story, and that will explain how economics works. We've also heard quote-unquote trickle-down economics or supply-side economics slammed. These folks, the Democrats, tend to say these things have not worked. Wrong. They have worked time and time again. They worked in the 1920s. They got us out of the recession following World War I, and they gave us an economy where the unemployment rate was 1.5%. President Kennedy, I hear tell a Democrat, did something similar when he lowered the tax rates when he was president. And he said, a rising tide lifts all boats. And by golly, it did during the subsequent decade. Reagan tried it again. And you know what? It worked one more time. We had prosperity again. And then Clinton, you know, Clinton supposedly raised taxes. Well, he did. But then he lowered the capital gains tax, and that's why the economy rose during his second term. And then we hear how Bush failed when he lowered taxes. Well, he didn't. When he lowered taxes, the economy turned around after falling from 9/11 and rose until it fell toward the end because of the crash. Now, I'm not going to go into what caused the crash. It certainly wasn't caused. It certainly wasn't caused by Bush's tax policy, as these folks say. It had much more to do with what the Democrats and the Republicans did in terms of financing housing. In other words, when you start lying about how the economy works, you just can't figure out how to fix it. And so the very first thing you start with is understanding the economy, and guess who understands it because he has been in it and made a spectacular success? Not somebody who worked in a neighborhood telling people he was going to solve their problems by changing government and then didn't deliver.
Thank you, Dr. Fein. Dr. Fein.